What is up, my fellow quirky people? We just got the big Morbius trailer, and Sony seems to have done a remarkable job on this one. I don't know if this movie is going to be as big as Venom, but it certainly has what it takes to be a profitable movie for the studio. We're getting a new and unique entry in the superhero genre as Sony launches their second anti-hero of SPUMC. So far, the two Venom movies have been mostly straightforward. Eddie and Venom continuously bickered at each other, and teamed up to take down the bad symbiotes. So I'm hoping that Morbius could surely offer us something out of the box. Michael Morbius was born with a rare disease, and that's going to be his entire motivation. He devoted his life to find a cure, and as we've seen in the trailer, he's going to try and push the boundaries of medical science. And the risk he takes turns him into a living vampire. Now we're going to compare his origins with the comics, and then we're going to look at his powers in live action and the books. Who is Morbius?
My name is Michael Morbius. I am a living vampire. I am not undead. I am a creature, a man of science.
Dr. Michael Morbius is a Nobel Prize-winning biochemist. He has a rare blood disease in the comics. So to come up with a cure, he designs a procedure that involves vampire bat blood cells and electricity. After going through the apparatus, he does manage to cure himself. And he even gains a bunch of cool superhuman abilities. But all this comes with an add-on cost. He becomes a living vampire and needs to consume human blood in order to survive. So he fights a moral battle within himself every day in order to control his urges. Consuming blood becomes a price he has to pay to ensure his survival. But you have to keep in mind that this is his only vampiric weakness. Since he became a vampire through scientific means, he doesn't get the weaknesses of vampires such as sunlight, garlic, and crucifixes. All he has to control is his bloodlust. Now this is something that seems to be happening in the movie as well, but the procedure of him turning into a living vampire is a bit different. Instead of it all happening in some lab, Morbius approaches a cave that is full of bats. Unafraid of what's going to happen, he cuts his hand and holds it up in front of a stringed apparatus. The dripping blood from his hands attracts a swarm of bats, and that somehow changes his body structure. His disease gets cured, and he gains a bunch of abilities as we saw in the trailer. Whatever this procedure is, it does seem to involve a bit of supernatural element as well. And because it is slightly different from the comics, the powers and abilities of Morbius could also differ a bit from the source material. So without any further ado, let's look at the new abilities he gained by this procedure. Then we'll see if all of them are different from the books. First he gets superhuman strength. As Morbius states in the trailer, he has increased strength. He lifted a heavy stone burial box without even breaking a sweat. So I'd say that he can go toe-to-toe with any of MCU's super soldiers. Superhuman speed. As we saw in the trailer, Morbius becomes so fast that he is actually able to dodge bullets. That might make him as fast as MCU's Quicksilver, if not faster. So it'll be interesting to see how Mahershala Ali's Blade could go against him, because right now, it seems that Morbius could crush Blade. Next up, he gets SONAR ability and heightened senses. Morbius claims that he also gets some sort of bat radar. We can see this through a pulse of energy being emitted out of him, and even his ears changed in the trailer. So it would be safe to assume that Morbius has super hearing as well. Real bats use sonar to detect their surroundings by emitting sound waves. These waves bounce off objects and return as echo full of information. Human ears cannot detect this frequency, but Morbius can seemingly do all this. In many ways, his sonar ability is actually better than Peter's spider sense.
So sorry. I thought that you could sense that with your Peter tingle.
Morbius would know of incoming attacks at all times, as he can actually look for them from a distance. The bat radar combined with his super hearing and other heightened senses would work like a charm. He'd have the ability to become the best tracker in the world. That's because he also has night vision. Bats are called blind, but that's a myth. They have small eyes with very sensitive vision, which helps them see in conditions we might consider pitch black. And that's the ability that Morbius gets in his movie as well. We can see in the dark, and this ability of his is similar to the comics. In fact, all the abilities we've pointed out are all there in the source material. Next up, he gets flight. The energy that Morbius emits also allows him to fly or glide. So, this ability, along with all his other powers, actually makes him the best character that Sony has besides Spider-Man. Okay, wait. His flight is really not why he is the best, but he is superior because he seems to have control over bats. One could say that Morbius is Sony's Batman. In fact, he is actually better than Batsy in many ways. In the trailer, we saw a swarm of bats being unleashed upon someone while Morbius stood still. So, he can probably control his own bat army, and this is an ability that Morbius never had in the comics. This doesn't just offer a great visual trick to the creatives, but it turns Morbius into a one-man army. His most apparent trait in the movie is transformation into a vampire. He turns into a horrifying vampire with fangs, and with that, he can actually scare and intimidate people, just as we saw in the trailer. Now let's look at the other powers that Morbius has in the books, which may or may not be in the movie. Other comic powers. There's one comic ability that Morbius should have in the movie, and that is rapid healing. Sony is giving Morbius a whole bunch of powers, and I'm sure that quick healing would also be one of them. But what Morbius isn't getting in the Sony Picture universe of Marvel characters is the ability to create vampires. You see, he can spawn other pseudo-vampires with his bite. He already has an army of bats, so I don't really want him to gain an army of vampires in the movie. He is already quite strong, but this ability would make him way too overpowered. Another major ability from the books that Morbius probably shouldn't get is hypnosis. He was able to hypnotize even Spider-Man for a short span of time. I believe that it would be okay if we didn't see his hypnosis in live action. But if this power has to be added, then it should happen in the sequel, where Morbius gradually evolves and gets the new abilities. Okay, that's all from his powers and abilities. Now let me tell you why he is the best. Let me tell you why he is stronger than even Venom. Well, we've seen that Venom is quite big and tough. On top of that, he is quite fast, but he is certainly not faster than Morbius. With a strong host like Eddie Brock, he is even more powerful. He can heal his host, bite people's heads off, and reshape his body. So he could maybe overpower Morbius in terms of strength. But I've already told you all the abilities that Morbius has. So, Venom could actually have a tough time catching Morbius. And he has a few weaknesses that Morbius could easily exploit. Venom is prone to fire. We've seen how he gets against sonic attacks. He is basically ineffective without a host, and he needs to eat human brains and chocolates in order to maintain his strength.
The chocolate delivery hasn't arrived yet.
No! We had a deal.
What's gonna happen? You gonna stop protecting me?
I am happy to eat, Mrs. Chen!
No, you cannot eat, Mrs. Chen. What?
Nothing?
This is quite similar to Morbius. He also needs to consume human blood to maintain shape, but that's his only weakness. Compared to Venom, his weaknesses are pretty less in number. Morbius is a fairly smart guy. He is a Nobel Prize winner. He has sonar powers and extremely quick reflexes. Venom cannot surprise him in any way. Morbius has studied human and animal biology all his life. He could devise a plan to turn Venom into a pile of goo in a jiffy. Venom would be busy tackling a bad army, while Morbius would make his move and take him down. So in short, Morbius could win easily. It would be interesting to see if Sony gives Morbius some other limitations than bloodlust. Maybe then, Venom would have a shot. Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock is rumored to cameo in Morbius, so maybe we will get a team-up or a battle between them in the future. Let's wait and see what happens. In the meanwhile, hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. And don't forget to check out some more fun content on our channel. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!